All right, disruptors. If you have ever wanted to look at a franchise and you wanted something that was in extremely high demand, just about in every market in the United States, this episode of Your First Franchise, special episode, is for you. I've got Jason Leber. He is a co-founder of Painter1 franchise. He is based in Mesa, Arizona, the headquarters up in Ohio. Jason, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm going to come out with a hard question right off the bat for you. What's the biggest challenge you've overcome going into business, and how did that turn around to help you?
That's a really good question. Biggest challenge we've had to overcome, I would say, really was finding our first owner or
Hmm.
owners for the franchise, which is probably most franchise concepts' biggest challenge, I would think.
Yes.
Um, Typically, I hear different numbers, but once you get about 5, 10 or so owners, more or less it kind of snowballs a bit from there.
Yeah.
And but the real challenge is finding those first couple of owners to believe in you, believe in your systems, you know, put all their money on the line and buy into it. And so it was a bit of a challenge, but we overcame it for sure.
Well, I'm glad you said it. You see, the shirt I've got on is for Springboard, which is the conference for emerging brands. So
Mhm.
that's why most of the people that attend that show is trying to figure out to do exactly what you've done.
Yep.
So yeah. All right. I mean, we
Yeah.
didn't plan that, by the way, folks.
All right. Happy
Um,
circumstance. Yep.
all right. So through that process, you learn from some people. Who or what are you grateful for that helped you get you where you are today?
Yeah. And actually, it's a bit of a cheat, if you will, in overcoming that challenge. So who and what I'm grateful for is our past, our history. So
Hmm.
Painter1 franchise, as you mentioned, I'm one of the co-founders. My partner, Conrad, was the original founder of Five Star Painting,
Hmm.
which today they're now the second largest painting franchise out there.
Hmm.
And so when we first got started with Painter1 and we're looking around trying to find people to join our system, lo and behold, our first couple of owners were either owners or people who were running franchises at Five Star beforehand.
Yeah.
And it was right after the acquisition had occurred. And so we were able to kind of finagle some of them out of, uh, you know, situations and they were able to sign up with us. And so very grateful for them. We've had some or all but one retire ever since.
Yeah.
And we've still got one of those original owners with us to this day, um, plugging it out in Boca Raton, Florida. So
Yeah.
very, very, very grateful for them for sure.
So, I knew a little bit about your pedigree because
Mm.
I know one of the original founders, the other original founder, Scott Abbott,
Uh-huh.
of Five Star Painting. So you all do have a phenomenal background to bring to the table. So that begs the question: why did you all decide to go into yet another painting franchise?
That is the question. Yeah. And so the biggest thing is when we were coming to an end with Five Star Painting, and I say we, I mean Conrad and I, we kind of looked around and said, "Hey, we've had so much great feedback from our owners throughout the
Hmm.
years, ways to improve the system, make things better." Not to say that we were following along with the rest of the other, painting franchises out there, but in a lot of ways we were.
Hmm.
And there are different nuances, different things that, as we all know, once a company, a machine gets to a certain size, it's really hard to backpedal or to go back and change, you know, integral parts of the framework of the business. And so um, we thought, why don't we start something new? And from day one, implement a lot of these kind of nuances, these exciting new changes, adaptations that owners had provided to us throughout the years into something new and better. And so our tagline at Painter1 Franchise is empower the owner, is what we
Mm.
always say.
Okay.
And so a lot of what we do goes back to that mantra of empowering the owner. And that's our why.
Gotcha. Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. So you basically had taken the feedback from the experience and created your differentiators from that.
Exactly right. Yep. You
Wow.
nailed it.
And
Yeah.
and you bring up, and this is something important too. I know the number one brand out there, but they only have what I think the statistic is they capture like 2 or 3% of the potential market. which
Something like
is
that. Yeah.
yeah, and they're huge. But
Mhm.
the market is there's so much demand for
That's
your
right.
service. That's why I opened up this podcast with the comment that I made. There's so much demand for painting, no matter where you are around the world, really. So
Mhm.
you've got such a unique opportunity having the pedigree behind you, which should provide reassurance to anyone considering your brand.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk about the model. What makes it unique? What are some of the things that you took from the past, brought forward, and what makes it appealing to someone considering a painting franchise?
Yeah. Really great question. So one of the biggest ones that comes to mind is territory.
Hmm.
Almost everybody within the home services space, they want to make sure that they've got a large enough territory to fulfill their goals, their dreams, aspirations. And so, like you mentioned, without going into names, the number one competitor, number two, a lot of the bigger guys out there, they've kind of shrunken their territory sizes down to these really small areas. And so for us, we do about 300,000 to 400,000 population sized territories, which on average is about 2 or 3x the size of our competitors.
Hmm.
And again, it goes back to empowering the owner, allowing them to do whatever it is that they want, whether it's a lifestyle business, they just want big numbers. They've got the power to do that with this territory. So that's always been a big one. Another huge one is very unique to us, and that is our 10% owner's equity pool.
Ooh.
And so going back to our history, when Five Star sold, really the franchisees, the owners of the franchise businesses, likely really changed much for them.
Hmm.
They had a new owner and they kind of continued on as normal, even though this big acquisition took place. So when we started PainterOne franchise, we decided, hey, why don't we carve out 10% of the franchise system, and whenever somebody puts all their faith, all their into PainterOne franchise, they'll be physically in this 10% owner's equity pool. So if we ever go to sell one day, something like that, they're actually going to benefit
They
from an acquisition, say. So
they share in that. They share in the
yeah,
profits of that.
that's exactly right. And also, it helps with the camaraderie, with the support internally, because obviously,
I like that.
investing
Yeah.
not only in your franchise location, but also in the franchise system, because that's going to help, benefit your investment in that regard as well. We've also done a mentor program where we have existing owners be the ones who train and support new incoming owners.
Mm.
And so the big kind of revelation there was, most franchise systems, you've got these franchise coaches, people who are hired from the outside to come in and train you on your business, how to run it, how
Mhm.
to operate it. But where does their training come from? Usually it's the operations manual. It's being told, what to do, how to do things, right? But they've
Mhm.
never actually run a business before. So
Mhm.
with this mentor program, we allow existing owners that are actually doing this day in and day out be the ones who are helping to train and support new owners
Mhm.
coming in and that kind of thing. And we've actually evolved that program quite a bit to where our brand president,
Mhm.
now our COO, they're all current or former franchise owners themselves at PainterOne. And
Mhm.
so again, my role primarily is franchise development, bringing on new owners. Whenever I put a prospective owner in front of our brand president, our COO, it's
Mhm.
not, oh, this looks like a great day. I talk to owners all day. I work with them all the time. It's, I was in your shoes 2, 3, 4 years ago. I made the leap. I bought a Painter One franchise. I ran it for X number of years.
Mhm.
And, here's my outcome. Here's my experience along the way.
I
And
love
so
it.
it's really helped us in that regard also.
I love that. And I want to go back to the first one you mentioned, the size of the territory. But
Yeah.
to give people some context, New Orleans population, people think New Orleans is a lot bigger than it is, but it is still a sizable city. It's not Chicago, but New Orleans is about 300,000 people.
Mhm.
So your territory would cover New Orleans, the entire
Mhm.
city, which is really strong.
Yeah.
And I love the mentor piece because I'm all about mentorship. I've been very
Mhm.
fortunate in my career, throughout my entire career, to have some amazing mentors who breathed into me because of their immense experience. And that
Mhm.
makes all the difference in the world. Um,
Definitely.
so that's a lot of support coming in. What does the investment level look like for someone looking at this?
Yeah. So in our FDD, there's the range, and the range I believe is something like 70. to 73,000 all the way up to 120.
Okay.
I kind of gloss over that because what I did is I surveyed our 10 most recent owners to come through and said,
Mhm.
"Hey, what exactly did you spend? What did that all in initial investment look like?"
Mhm.
And I basically averaged out the answer. And that number was about 78,000. That was kind of
Wow.
the average all in initial investment, which covers the franchise fee, which for us is 49.5 plus, initial marketing and all those other types of things, trainings and that. So it's about 78,000 is the average all in initial investment for a PainterOne franchise.
How long does it take? Because your program's a little different. You've got the
Mhm.
mentor program. How long does it take for someone to get up to speed once they turn the key to say, okay, now we're going to business. Now we're going to the market to start selling. How long does it take them to really get going? With
Man, my experience, I would say not that long. I mean, 3 to 6 months is probably a
Mhm.
good average.
Wow.
But the reality is the way that we operate is we try to get marketing turned on and running before you even come to training. So
Mm,
that way, when you're at training, you're getting appointments scheduled, booked for when you come back from training. So then you come home from training and you're already off to the races, doing estimates, closing deals, finding crews, getting the crews on those. And so within your first month, you're already doing jobs and collecting money and cash flow and that kind of thing. So think about that extrapolated across about 3 months. And
mhm,
there's not a lot of complexities to this business.
mhm.
So again, within 3 months or so, you've got a pretty good handle on things. Obviously, you're always learning and there's curveballs and things, but again, within 3 to 6 months, surely you've got a pretty good handle on it.
Okay, so you got now the owner is it owner operator or is can they bring in a manager at some point? Or what do you how do you all what's your
Yeah,
approach?
great question. So we prefer that everybody is owner operator at the onset so that they
Mhm.
can get, fully immersed in the business, totally understand all the roles and what's required. And then certainly you can bring on somebody to, whether it's a project manager, estimator, somebody to, GM, general manager to take over operations for you. We've had people do it all. So it's all possible for sure. Some owners,
What's common? What do you find people mostly doing?
mostly I would say an project manager is probably your first one to kind of bring on. Most
Mhm.
owners enjoy doing the estimates
Yeah,
and obviously overseeing the business. So project manager is probably number one, then an estimator, and then that way the owner is kind of fallen into just that, managing the business, managing the managers kind of role.
gotcha.
And yeah,
And then the employees hired or 1099s?
most of it is 1099
Okay.
subcontractors. Yeah.
Okay, good. Now regarding so that's the investment side, getting,
Mhm.
and putting the team together. What does the revenue side look like? The item 19.
Yeah, item 19. So we did an average of all the locations, their revenue, and the average is close to about 600,000 is
Okay.
the average annual revenue. We've got a couple owners, actually, well, we've got quite a few now that have passed the million mark.
Mhm.
Uh, one that's passed the $2 or $3 million mark. That you can, certainly there's a lot of potential as you had mentioned, but system average about 600,000.
Yeah, and then the way they grow the business, obviously word of mouth as there's like in jobs out there, but you all help them, like you say, you jumpstart the process while they're in training. How long is the training to get them trained up
Yeah,
to
so we
get
do
more?
about a week and a half training. It's
Okay.
at our Columbus office, and so again, you're meeting with our team, led by our COO, who again was a former franchise owner himself,
Mhm.
and so he's got that experience. We also have the existing Columbus franchisee has an office within our main office,
Mhm.
and so new owners when they come for training, they're not only being trained by our team and going through all the classroom training, but they're also going to go with the Columbus owner in the field doing estimates, seeing the projects being done, see how the sausage is made, that kind of thing. And
Gotcha.
so that week and a half training, you're getting all of it. You're fully immersed in the business. You're seeing how it's all done. Plus, you're going through, all the typical classroom style training stuff as well.
Gotcha. And what about like back of house support? It's the marketing. You all are helping them turn on all the marketing. set up their website, and
Mhm.
those any other back end support? Or is that the primary thing?
That's probably the
Technology, so forth.
yeah. I mean, technology. That's one of our other differentiators. I didn't even mention, but our technology is very unique to us. Conrad's actually the guy that created it, the
Okay.
technology that we use, the software,
Okay.
and it's kind of a what I would call a one-stop shop, do it all for you.
Yeah.
And so it's everything that you need for the business. So you get a lot of training, obviously, on that because it's not just your CRM, it's also your reporting, your estimating, and then a lot of other sales automations built in within the software as well. So a lot of the training goes into that.
Mhm.
As you mentioned, a lot of the marketing, we've got a marketing team that creates a website, does all the social media, blasts out, all that digital advertising stuff. And then we've got a lot of other operational support. One of our director of training and support was a former Sherwin-Williams
Mhm.
worker, employee himself, store manager, I believe. And so he does a lot of kind of the operational trainings and kind of shop secrets and things within Sherwin-Williams and that kind of thing as well. So there's a lot. It's a ton, but there's a lot that goes into it for sure.
And of course, this person is getting out into their community, they're networking with, different associations, they're networking at networking groups and so forth to get the word
Definitely.
out. Yeah. So they
Yeah,
get the whole comprehensive package, and then the cherry on top is the mentor program, which
that's
is
right.
which is uh, I don't know another franchise system that does that. So that's pretty cool. All right, what makes a great candidate for you guys? Because for people, if you're new listening to this, and you're thinking you're just going to go buy a franchise, that's not the way it works. You're doing your homework, investigating them. They're going to do their homework. Jason and his team are going to do their homework, investigating you, because it's got to be a mutual fit culturally and vision wise and so forth. What makes a great candidate for you guys?
Yes. I love how you teed that up because that's exactly right. Yeah. What makes a great candidate would be somebody who is very analytical, business savvy, business focused. Obviously marketing and sales is a
Mhm.
plus or a bonus as well. But yeah, certainly having kind of that business acumen, that analytical mindset, believe it or not, that's one of the number one biggest attributes that we look for in a candidate because truly our business is one that is run by the numbers. And so we don't want or need somebody who is familiar with home services, painting, anything like that. Number one, you're not going to be doing any of the painting, but then number two, that's not for you to really be focused on as a business owner. And
Gotcha.
so if you've got that business experience in, you love all those acronyms, the P&Ls, ROIs, KPIs, that kind of stuff is your world. You like that kind of stuff. You would
Mhm.
be a great owner at Painter1 because that's kind of where we live, and that's what makes an owner successful is having that business acumen mindset with a Painter1 franchise.
And all right, it's about time to land the plane here. Someone considering a franchise, whether it's Painter1 or any franchise, and you've been around this for a while and you've partnered up with people who have just so much experience. What's the number one piece of guidance you give that person, whether it's your brand or any other brand? What's that number one piece of guidance you give them when they're considering a franchise? What's for them to do or look for?
I mean, the first thought that came to mind is ask a lot of questions. I would say make sure that you're asking tons and tons of questions of each and every brand, each and every person that you talk to.
Mhm.
Validation is paramount. Talk with existing owners. I think that's really what tells the story in how these franchises, whether it's ours or any others, are run and how successful they can be or cannot be. Right. And so
Mhm.
validation is paramount. Business is business. And I think certainly there's lots of different businesses that a person can go into. But at
Mhm.
the end of the day, it all comes back to how much support you're going to get, how well you're going to jive with the company. And you can't know those things unless you're asking questions, diving into validation with existing owners, and really kind of immersing yourself with the brand. And once you've done that, I think you're going to get a great sense for is this the good fit for me or not? And
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 for us, I hear the phrase, I never at the beginning of this process would have ever imagined I'd get into a painting business. How silly is that? But after talking to owners, talking to Jay, talking to all these people and going through things, it makes a whole lot of sense. And here they are now. And so that's my number one advice for anybody.
It's a fun business too. I mean, it's for the marketing side. I mean, I love marketing, and
Mhm.
it's just a fun business to show before and afters, and
Oh, yeah.
people are happy. I mean, you're making
Yeah,
people happy doing what they do.
that's right.
So folks, if you're considering this franchise, I'm working with Jason and his team, bringing folks in to talk to them. Get in touch with me at yourfirstfranchise.com, or you can check us out. We'll post the podcast on closethedeal.com. So you got two choices: closethedeal.com or yourfirstfranchise.com. Jason, I want to thank you for your time today. This has been fantastic. And I love the brand. I love it. Love what you guys are doing.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me.
I like the approach. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. And that is a wrap with Jason. And folks, I really love this space because there's so much demand. Not only that, you're partnering with a group with Painter1 that has decades of experience having built the #2 franchise in the United States. Phenomenal group behind them. They've got the know-how, and you're going to get mentored, which I love that aspect of this. Now, I've got a brand new book. If you're seriously considering getting a franchise, I'd love to gift you a copy of my book called Your First Franchise Roadmap. Just visit yourfirstfranchise.com, and I'll get you a copy to you right away as a gift. Thank you for being here. And you know the drill. Be intentional and make today a great day. Bye-bye.